Comic Book ASMR. Today we're going to be doing a long overdue comic book haul, and I'll start off by showing the newer stuff, and then we'll show a few collectibles, and then I'll show everything else that I've bought that you all have missed recently. And I found a pretty cool, rare old book that is a Market Jeweler newsstand variant that is signed, that I'll show off in the later half of the video, but I'm not going to say where to encourage you to stick around. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So first off, we have the Sonic meets Justice League #1 book here. In this, I didn't have any idea that this was even a thing that was coming out. I basically saw people all over Facebook talking about it. So this was a nice little surprise. And yeah, this is cool. It's got really solid artwork. Everyone is on model. Well, I mean, the Sonic people are more than the Justice League, but I love whenever the artists for Sonic draw them really well, because initially whenever I was buying Sonic comics way back when they first came out from Archie, they weren't too on model, and eventually it improved, but for the longest time they were very different than than the cartoon show and all the other type of artwork of them. So I love when I see the newer Sonic books, and they have the it just looks really great, just super on model, really nice and fluid and smooth. But yeah, you can see that the Justice League members definitely look more on the cartoony side, which is okay because they've got to share the space with the cartoony Sonic characters. But yeah, I really love this. It's off to a fun start here. And the first issue is just kind of setting up who's really going to pair up. And, naturally, so Sonic is hanging out with Flash, and Shadow is hanging out with Batman, Silver with Green Lantern, Amy with Wonder Woman. I'm trying to remember who else is in here. Oh yeah, Cyborg is with Tails, because they're both tech geniuses. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I look forward to this. This was a nice surprise. I highly recommend it. Go pick it up if you love Sonic and you love DC. Next we have Absolute Batman #6. And this book is crazy. That's just kind of been a recurring theme with the Absolute Batman. It's kind of just like a really, really hard-edged Ultimates storyline, or Elseworlds if you're thinking of DC's old books. So here we see the childhood photo of Bruce hanging out with Olive in this form of the storyline. Pretty much a lot of the Rogues Gallery people were childhood friends of his. So this is Killer Croc, Catwoman, Edward Nygma. I'm trying to remember the other ones here, and then Bruce is over here. But yeah, this issue, there's a flashback where they're having a full-on sleepover together, and then Bruce has a nightmare about his mom being shot in front of them, from an intruder here. And then it jumps ahead to modern day, and the gangs that have been running amok in Gotham here. We find out that the masks, whenever they put them on, there's a bounty where it indicates different things you can do for this amount of money. In certain targets, like Commissioner Gordon here is worth $1 million. And so this is how Black Mask divvies out hits, and how he pays people out as they wear the masks. And then they kind of use it to guide them to do different crimes. So pretty cool. And of course, here's another homage to Frank Miller, as if we need another guys have seen it, I saw on the internet earlier this week. The scene where basically Batman boots this kid that tries to attack him. I can't even find it. Oh, right here. See, they're like, you can't, I'm just a kid, and then Batman just punts them. So yeah, this Batman doesn't pull punches. And yeah, it's crazy. And there's a big reveal at the end of the book, which it's a new villain appearance for this series, and it's pretty jarring and horrific. So hopefully, and I mean, hasn't really been confirmed who it is, but everyone is saying who they think it is. But I just don't know how they can make that leap based upon really like one facet of how this villain looks, but I don't know. Next we have Absolute Superman number 5. And this one really goes kind of more into flashback mode, or you kind of learn more about what led Clark to the point of where he is. Lots of destruction, lots of chaos. And of course, the eventual separation from his parents. It still happens, it just happens differently than the way we're accustomed to. But honestly, there's a whole lot that goes on in the Superman book that there are times I really can't comprehend a lot of it because it moves so fast and there's so much going on. So if I'm honest with you guys, I like it, but it's a bit over my head sometimes. I don't know if it's just like the volume of what's happening or not. It's very just a lot going on. As you can see, it's very busy, but I do enjoy it. And then this is cool. I didn't know that this was actually on sale already. So this is the World's Finest number 37. This is the Dan Mora Guy Fieri cover here. And something I really haven't shared on this channel, Food Network, is something I watch quite frequently. And I love Guy Fieri, so I actually have a Funko Pop of him. I've got a Food Network magazine that talks about kind of his backstory and stuff. He's a cool guy. He's pretty memeable at times, but he's cool. I like him. I like to cook myself, and I watch a lot of Food Network and stuff like that, and I enjoy it. I guess it's one of the most mature, quote-unquote, things about me, but I just like good food, and the Food Network shows just kind of package it in a way that is enjoyable for me. So yeah, this is continuing on with the Aquaman storyline here, where they are fending off, I'm trying to remember what they call him here, the Floronic Man. It's Dr. Woodrow, which whenever I think of him, I just think of a small part he had in the Batman and Robin movie, creating Poison Ivy. So when I read that name in there, I was just like, oh yeah, that guy from the movie. Which I'm sure this comic displays him more accurately than that goofy movie did, but I just thought that was just kind of a fun thing that pulled me out of the story for a moment. But yeah, the interiors on this are not done by Dan Moore or anything, but you can really see they've kind of gotten a style here where if they can blend it with the same type of coloring that they've had, and even the same colorist isn't working on this, that was, but it just kind of gels. I still get the same kind of feeling that I get when I saw Dan's stuff. But yeah, I learned about this on Mark Wade's one of his Facebook posts. He was just kind of rambling all of his solicitations that he had. But I thought he was talking about the pre-order cutoff for this was on Wednesday, not that this book was actually out. So I popped in the shop and it's just like, can you hold that for me if you can? I know it's not like an A or B cover. And they had one on the shelf and they pulled it right for me, so I got lucky. Next we have the last part of the Violator origin story, which, holy crap, if you read Spawn or have read Spawn, this is kind of one of the most important Spawn miniseries to come out in a good long time. This is the backstory of the clown or Violator, and we get a whole lot of refresher course kind of on humankind's history of violence here. There's nudity down here, so I'm trying not to show that. But yeah, you can see lots of, unsavory characters here through history and horror characters. And then of course we get the confession that Clown is loosely inspired off of Casey, who would like to dress as clowns and do unspeakable acts to children. And this is where he's talking about that here. He borrowed it. Next we have Detective Comics number 1095, I think, yeah. And I think, I'm not sure, I think Miguel Yana's art it doesn't quite look the same in this. I saw that they had inkers and stuff. I don't think his stuff is usually inked. There's just something that seems different about it to me. Usually it seems more smooth. I know he uses a lot of, I think he does anyway, like a lot of like digital stuff to help him create his work. But I think someone inked over his stuff, maybe so they could hit the deadline, I'm not sure. But on the closing page of the credits, I definitely saw it had like inks pages 1 through 17 and all this sort of stuff. Or in the past, I think, I really haven't looked at it to see, but I think before there wasn't an inker going over his stuff. So this continues on with kind of delving into a bit of backstory of the backstory of Bruce. And here we have him paying a visit to Joe Chill, which is always fun. And then of course more stuff moving things along in kind of his newer contacts here that he's been hanging out with in this series or storyline rather. The first couple parts were really good, and it's just kind of middling out now, which, it happens a lot, especially with, more modern stuff I've seen, but it started really strong, giving us new additional insight into the Wayne's backstory before the assassination, or murdering, or however you want to say it. Next we have Assassin's Creed Mirage number 1. So I was surprised I saw Michael Oeming's name on here, and I was like, oh, is it Michael Oeming art? And it is not. He did the script, which I thought is strange because he's typically known for his artwork. But the art I do like in here. It reminds me a lot of Maylev's Marvel Knights Daredevil run stuff. Just kind of really dark, gritty, lots of shadow work. And I love Assassin's Creed. Definitely one of my favorite modern game franchises. I'm still behind on Assassin's Creed. I'm sure you'll like this. I was surprised that this was coming from Dark Horse, though. They keep trading around who has been printing Assassin's Creed books, so I guess they just got the license. Next is Mutant Nation number 5. And this is a story about Raph and Pepperoni just kind of doing their cross-country trip. And Raph's in the dumps, and then this guy here sees his bag and takes off with it while he's sulking. And Pepperoni sees it and then tries to notify Raph, but he's just thinking he's being a dumb pet in the way. So then Pepperoni runs off to go rescue Raph's stuff, and eventually he follows him. And a lot of it is just, sequential work, not a lot of dialogue. But still a well-done story just to kind of show, the relationship between those two, which is nice to see. And then there is a backup story with mutant frogs versus the purple dragons. Not particularly long story, but just a little fun backup here. Then we have Action Comics number 1084, which honestly the best thing about this issue is probably the J-Lee cover here. This particular storyline hasn't really grabbed me. There's a few characters, though. I could swear that these guys that are coming in here were from the early 90s/late 80s run. I vaguely remember these types of guys, but it seems like this is the first interaction they're having. But I do know Mannheim here. I know they talked about him a lot in the Superman cartoon as well. He's pretty much like a Darkseid's man on the street, using his tech to commit crimes and stuff with the Inner Gang and all that, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure if it was Inner Gang or not, but I definitely remember enough stuff with Mannheim. But yeah, there's like this, I don't know, I guess the main guy here, he looks different, but I could just swear that there were some characters that just kind of had this look to them, but I don't know. Okay, so a random figure that I got, just because I couldn't resist it. It doesn't pertain to comic books, but I got this small Jack Black figure for the Minecraft movie coming out, just because it's so ridiculous, and I mean it looks enough like Jack Black that I couldn't resist. It's got a little drumstick with it too. They have a huge version of this figure, which is the one that I knew about, but everyone online has bought it up and they're charging ridiculous prices for it, but the little one will suffice for now. But he's fun too, because he's kind of meets the scale of like the Jurassic Park figures, so he would kind of blend in if I put him with my Jurassic Park figures. But it's just so ridiculous. Not to mention some better movie figures. We got the Christopher Reeve Superman, and this has been a figure that I hope McFarlane would make for a while, and he finally has. Oh, there are some weird things here with like the sleeve and stuff. The face is a passable enough resemblance to Christopher Reeve. And then the cape's got the yellow emblem on the back, which sometimes they forget this figure. I'm glad I don't have any Christopher Reeve Superman stuff, so I'm glad that I got this. I did recently watch the Superman documentary about Christopher Reeve too. Surprising how much Robin Williams was talked about in that movie. I always forget that they went to college together. So, but yeah, really cool, and learned some surprising stuff about him. So I recommend you watch that documentary if you haven't. And then there's all sorts of stuff in the box too. I was kind of bummed. So the second head looks pretty close to the other head on the figure. I think the curl's just down a bit more, so he's like, a battled version maybe. But with the evil Superman, they have a variant or a chase of this figure. The evil Superman actually has like the heat vision eyes, and he's got like a grimace face. I wish they would have put one of those in the box for this one too, but he's got the base in there and a few pair of hands to swap out. And he's got his little card in there. It's the same image here, which is really nice. And then I was fortunate enough that I had this on my watch list. It sold out immediately on Amazon, but I was able to catch it when a random reseller was selling it. And I think I only paid $30 for him. But yeah, so this is the new Michael Keaton Batman figure. And the face doesn't really look like Keaton, but of course the outfit does. And this should all be one piece, so it looks too smooth and aerodynamic, but that's okay. There's enough good things about it. I mean, everything else. I mean, even on the shoes here, they've got like the retrofitted Nikes where they put like the extra pad thing over to kind of make it look not like a tennis shoe. But if you paid the close attention in those movies, it's definitely a pair of Nikes that they did something to. So, but you can see that there, and all the details are nice here. And then this one, it's got, you can put the little rods right here in these little pockets, and you can have him hold them, and it'll stretch the cape out, where he's doing like his little pose like that. So you can have him in glide mode. Yeah, you put these in there, and then he's got his back grapple. He's got different hands you can put with him. He's got his batarang here, the nice chunky one. And then there's the art card in there. Alright, so transitioning on. We got Batman Dark Victory, which I love Tim Sale's work. But I have never read Dark Victory. Even this, I still haven't read it yet. I guess it's because it's thick, so it's kind of like a daunting assignment for me here. But yeah, I love Tim Sale's work, but I haven't ever read this particular Batman story, so I do look forward to reading it. It's just carving out the time when I prefer like the graphic novels to kind of read them in one sitting, because they're kind of presented in that format where it's like long format, strap in, So it'll be fun to read this. And there's a few other Tim Sale. Like I said, I know there's even other like Batman ones I haven't read that he's done. The ones in the back here, I haven't read Haunted Night or When in Rome either. And then there's a few Marvel ones I haven't read that he's done either. just came out too, finally. This is The Last Days of Lex Luthor #2. And I mean, I would suspect that this is late because of Brian Hitch. He always tends to take a long time to turn in his work. He's kind of known for that. Anything he's ever worked on has been kind of a brutal wait. Although I noticed that there was a plot thread in here that is touched on in World's Finest, that one I just showed you, so maybe a bit of it was instructional from Mark Waid to be like, hey, we're going to talk about this past friend slash romantic interest of Superman and bake it into here as well, so that might be a piece. But yeah, the premise here is in the previous issue. I'm trying to remember if Lex came to Superman or Superman learned from Lex that he is dying, and so Superman is trying to find a way to cure Lex Luthor. And so he is just kind of shopping around different possibilities for how they can find a cure for Lex and all this type of stuff. And there's flashback sequences in here talking about Clark and Lex's past together. And of course there's an accident which results in Lex losing his hair here. But he basically misreads Clark's reaction to the kryptonite when Clark is, hurt and feeling sick from it. Lex thinks that he's freaking out, thinking that Lex is a weirdo, so he kicks him out of his lab, and then this happens. Yeah, so Superman goes way into the future to find a cure, and then after that he tries to meet up with Wonder Woman to see if she can help him. And as you can see, she is not a fan of that idea. And it just goes on. I don't want to ruin every bit of it, but yeah, it's fun. It's a fun story. It's in this huge, big magazine format. And this one I had previously gotten too, but it's too big to fit in my normal stack. So this is Last Ronin Volume 2, Re-Evolution #4. A lot of side parts to that. So yeah, this is the other generation of the Turtles scene right there. This takes place way in the future after the events of Last Ronin 1. It's kind of the Turtles, the next generation. It's kind of the Turtles, the next generation. And we see a very old April here. We see Casey Jones and April's kid, if I remember correctly. And I'm honestly trying to remember how these turtles weave into anything. Obviously the Ninja Turtles, I don't think that they had any these aren't their kids. They're just another clan of turtles. I don't remember the plot thread. I don't think I've even read this yet. I think I put it to the side because it's big, so it wasn't my normal to read stack. And there is a random Michael Golden signed print of Bucky O'Hare, which if you grew up in the 80s and 90s, he had video games and toys and all this type of stuff. So I had always seen him around, but I don't remember really the history or any, just kind of, I remember the toys more than anything. They were kind of those big, chunky type toys like the Turtles were, only they were put out by Hasbro. And I remember I tried to steal one from one of my friends, which was a dumb move. But yeah, so they had this at Everett Comics, and it was just in the glass case. I was just like, hey, what's that? And it looked like this was a print series they did at Emerald City, probably way earlier, because I don't remember when Michael Golden was at Emerald City. but yeah, just a random print. Alright, so now moving on to the older stuff. Here's that rare one. I'm gonna just cram it. Okay, we ready? Here's our viewer retention. It's not at the end of the video. Alright. So we have the Lex Luthor special in, and this is right after the Absolute Power storyline. And this Lex, he's not evil anymore, but Superman needs his help with something, and basically to access the genius side of him, he's gonna have to try to tug back at those old threads and essentially return into the not nice Luthor. But yeah, this was a surprise when I got it. This is drawn by Eddie Barrows, or however you want to say his name. But yeah, this was just like a random special. So when it was in my box, I was like, what in the world is this? And then I read through it, I was like, holy cow, this was probably one of my favorite books that I picked up during that haul. And Eddie likes to do this type of stuff where he just does different formatting with the pages and things. I remember when he did that on Detective Comics, where he had like the panels looking like the Bat logo and stuff. But yeah, once again, and it's another thing between Lex and Clark that links them together. And we have Alien vs. Avengers number 3. So this takes place way in the future. We have a very old Tony Stark. And we have these beautiful Assad-Arabic interiors. I'm assuming it takes them a while to make this, because these aren't coming out monthly. They're not even being put out bi-monthly. Like, it's just been kind of scattershot. And even though I've got it on my list, I still had to randomly get it off the shelf, which I was lucky they still had one. So, but it happens. It's not that the shop is bad or anything like that. They've just got a lot of stuff to get through, and you know, human error does happen sometimes. But lots of crazy action, and of course, Aliens versus Avengers. Come on. This is what you always hope they do when they put these types of things in the different companies, whether it's DC or Marvel. You want to see the heroes interacting with, whether it's Predator or Alien, stuff like that. And we have Superman 23. This is the stuff with the Doomsday. Which, this is fun. This is the main thing that Dan Moore has been working on. At least to my knowledge. I'm sure he's on a few other books, but this is the one that I'm buying that he's drawing. There we get some more of a nice guy Lex there. With this beard. Then we have the Deadpool team up number 4. So yeah, this is mainly all done by Liefeld here. I mean, we have some additional inkers and stuff like that, but written and drawn by Liefeld. And as he puts it, just as this is treated as kind of like his final writing and drawing of the character. Of course, naturally, he had more fights with Marvel. So right after this was done, he went on a rant on his socials against them and stuff. knows if he's actually done or not, but yeah, I couldn't pass up following. It's just kind of random. Look back on that character. Here's the last part, number 5. And my only gripe is that there's random Spider-Gwen pops up in here. I could understand literally everything else as far as the character cameos, but I'm like, why in the world is Spider-Gwen in here? And even on the main cover, she's on the main cover. That's why I got this one, which is just kind of like plain big old Deadpool face, but then we have Batman number 157. So right after this one's going to be the Hush 2 miniseries. And, yeah, so after that, Jorge Jimenez is still going to be on Batman, I believe, or he's going the detective. I know he's still working on the character, because they did show, he's redesigned his costume. There's like, it's kind of like a navy blue color scheme going on where the Bat logo is. I mean, it has a heavy shadow over it, but then the parts that the light hits, it's like a darker blue. But yeah, this is the last of the collaboration between Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez. It's gonna be, I want to say Tom Taylor and Jorge on whichever Bat book. I don't know if it's detective or if it's regular Batman ongoing. But I know Hush 2 is next, which is going to be a 6-issue miniseries by Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee. But yeah, this was fun. I mean, a lot of the more recent stuff hasn't really grabbed me. But yeah, this is definitely like the climax. We get the big fight here between the guys, and we get the big reveal with this character and stuff. But if you haven't read it, I'm not going to spoil it. But and we have Detective Comics 1094. So yeah, like this issue looks more like Mikkel's style than I'm used to. I think the other one, I don't know what it was about it. Maybe it was the colorist. Because see, just kind of how like the highlights are here, it just seems like there's more of a blending sort of thing that goes on with this stuff. Oh yeah, remember this? Damien sneaks into prison and causes a riot here, which Bruce thinks is hilarious. Because there's something about like, I think this is actually like a juvie type thing, and there's a report of like guards mistreating the kids. And of course, Bruce is not having that. And there's Absolute Batman number 5. Oh yeah, in part 6 we learn the importance of the title of this certain arc. The huge Batman there. I think this is, oh yeah, this is when he does the thing where he has his spikes on his back that he impales that guy with. Yeah, he's got all sorts of random things going on with his costume that's literally like, it doesn't even look like it's drawn in a way that it could do that until you hit that panel, but it's whatever. Kind of like when he took his emblem off to use it as an axe, you know? Superman 4, which, yeah, more of the same. And this part focuses a lot on Lois again. And then we get our Peacekeeper Corps here. We've got Superman Action Comics 1083. So yeah, this is part of that same storyline with Major Force, I want to say his name is. Just kind of a guy who was always consistently down on his luck, and then he got superpowers, and then he just became a walking liability on top of already, like, being unstable from alcohol and stuff. And there's World's Finest 36. Floronic Man looks so cool there. All the detail. And then I think this part is the first part where Swamp Thing makes his appearance. Here's our backstory. There's Swamp Thing there. And this was their random kind of like Valentine's Day special, Lex in the City, which this is fine, but wasn't anything I really liked. So there's all of your people there. I can't even think of a standout story. So there's a story where basically there's a journalist trying to get some dirt on Lex while dating him. We get kind of a Harley and Poison Ivy romance scenario where they break into a greenhouse in Wayne Manor, and Bruce just kind of lets them get things foggy and leaves them alone. There's a story there about Mr. Freeze, which is drawn by Michael Oeming, actually. So here's some Oeming art here. Known for Powers, if you remember that series. I'm trying to remember what this one is. I think this is, yeah, like a Teen Titans or Titans storyline. With all the dude bros. And then a story with Timothy Drake here, as well as Damien. So maybe it's like a slight double date thing, I'm trying to remember. And then looks like a random Arkham story. I know Riddler is in it. And then we get some Beast Boy and Raven right there. And I think that's it. Oh no, there's a random Hawk Girl. And then that's it. Yep. And we have Violator Part 5. More gnarly. I think this one mainly takes place in Germany. Without going into too much other detail there, if I remember. And then we see some, circle stuff this work here, like the background images or foreground images, depending. And then we get some black and white stuff in the back. Then more Turtles of Grayskull number 3, which of course is lots of fun. And I'm sure you've seen some of these toys recently. They've been doing like Turtles meets He-Man toys. So if you've seen those toys, you won't be surprised how a lot of the characters look in this storyline. You saw the Bebop and Rocksteady, where they're both one being with two heads. But yeah, this is just a lot of fun. It's almost done. I think it's got maybe 2 more parts. As Turtles number 6. And I absolutely love the art in this. So this is done by Juan Ferreira. And yeah, it kind of has a little bit of like a paint style to it, but not. And it's got a bit of grit to it. It's very expressive, as you can see. It's really fun to look at. So they're like really popping off the page. And Donnie is still recouping and insane. He still thinks this dead rat is Splinter. Look at how he's been like starved to death and beaten, tortured. So the mayor of New York has pretty much turned on the Turtles at this point. Okay, are you guys ready? Here's your drum roll here, okay? Here we go. X-Men 239. This is Mr. Sinister's first cover appearance, and this is signed by Mark Silvestri. And this is a newsstand. I don't want to open it, but basically whenever I went to the store towards the end of my trip, I was like, didn't really see a 2-ton extra, which I always try to boost my sales a little bit to support the shop. The last few hauls have been kind of smaller, but I was like, hey, do you have Uncanny 239? And he was like, I just sold one the other day, but I'll check. So he went in the back, he pulled this out, he's just like, I know you're like trying to conserve money, should I even bother looking it up? Because he knew already, he's like, newsstand's gonna be more valuable. And then it's signed, so I was like, no, that's fine, you know, quote me a price or whatever. And then of course he did his last check, and he flipped through to about the middle, and he saw the Mark Jeweler ad in there. He's just like, oh, yeah, no, this checks all the boxes here. And he's like, this is probably a $200 book. I was like, yeah, go ahead. So, yeah, initially I was just trying to buy this book because I have, like, as you guys remember, like several months ago hauls, I had gotten a big lot of these books, but this one wasn't in it. So it's like, I don't want to read it, you know, in a trade or online if I can help it. So now I still have to find a reader's copy of it. I'm not going to open this again after that, but just kind of funny initially, just trying to get a reader's copy that I could just pick up in the reading order with the others. And it's just, holy crap, we have a newsstand with the Mark Jewelers insert, and it's signed by Silvestri. So, well, that's one way to support your local shop. But yeah, it just flew under his radar because he remembered that it was in there, but he didn't realize that it was signed in newsstand, and he had no clue that it was a Mark Jewelers insert as well. Okay, moving on here. We have Turtles number 7, ones here. Yeah, same artist. It's just really crazy, fun, kinetic. I love it. It kind of vaguely reminds me of when Sienkiewicz did the little Leonardo like short story in one of the Turtles universe books for IDW a while back. And we have Mutant Nation number 4. Sorry, that's my cats back there. And then Night Watcher number 6, which this series is wrapping. There's one more issue after this. So this is kind of Jennika coming to grips with her role as Night Watcher and kind of dealing with the sacrifice of taking on that mantle and kind of doing a bit of an internal battle here. And she pretty much sacrificed her girlfriend to continue to pursue this level of justice. And this is gonna be the big bad she fights in the last part. Then we have Turtles number 21, Saturday morning. And yeah, it's done in the fun art style here. I can't understate it enough, or overstate it enough. I love when they get the guy who does these, looks like straight up cartoon transfers, Dan Schoening. I love it. I can't get enough of it. I almost wish they would go back and literally just grab all the screens from the old show and just throw them into books too. Almost through. Pardon my cats. Here's 21. And this is a break from that style. This style is okay, but I just have a preference for that other one. Finally, we have the Ray Fillet greatest hits. And yeah, so it has a lot of the Archie reprints in here, which I've never read the Archie stuff. So, yeah, here's some of it here with the Mutanimals. Pardon, my cat is popping his claws on my mattress. Alright, well, I'm gonna wrap it here. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you want to see. And as always, you all have a super slumber. Thanks.